Travelers arriving in LA are required to complete forms, acknowledging the state-recommended 14-day quarantine.
Carlo Valdez in Union Township reports about Governor Phil Murphy signing a legislation requiring all uniformed New Jersey patrol officers to wear body cameras. Then Angel Membrere in Sacramento reports about a California health official explaining how to calculate the risk for contracting COVID-19. Plus, we'll have several stories from our business desk with Bobby Soriano in New York, New York. And for tonight's virtual roundtable, it's National Sardines Day. Our Eagle News team will talk about how they enjoy these silver little fish. You don't want to miss it. Our coverage begins now with an overview of today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, today, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 59,539,000. The top three on the list of countries with recorded cases are the U.S. with 12.5 million, India with 9.1 million, and Brazil with 6 million. The virus has now claimed more than 1,404,000 lives worldwide. The countries with the three most number of COVID-19 related deaths are the same. The U.S. with more than 258,000, Brazil more than 169,000, and India with more than 134,000. President-elect Joe Biden on Monday announced a foreign policy and national security team crammed with veterans from the Barack Obama years, signaling a return to traditional U.S. diplomacy. Top of the list was former State Department number 2 Antony Blinken, tapped for Secretary of State. Biden also named the first female head of intelligence, the first Latino chief of Homeland Security, and a heavyweight point man on climate issues, Obama-era top diplomat John Kerry. Biden's rollout of cabinet names was his biggest step yet, signaling he is ready to change America's direction on January 20.
Gotta go to do the mayor. I'll get to talk to you tomorrow, okay?
So do you expect Republicans to put up any significant roadblocks to your nominations?
Are you kidding me?
Why'd you go with national security first?
Because it's national security. Thanks.
The list put out by Biden's team ahead of a formal announcement Tuesday demonstrated a push to bring back the U.S. role of leader in multilateral alliances. Antony Blinken, a former number 2 of the State Department and a longtime advisor, will spearhead a fast-paced dismantling of Trump's America First policies, including rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization and resurrecting the Iran nuclear deal. Biden named the first woman, Avril Haines, as Director of National Intelligence, the first Latino, Alejandra Mayorkas, to head the Department of Homeland Security, whose policing of tough immigration restrictions under Trump was a frequent source of controversy. Signaling the Democratic president-elect's campaign promise to raise the profile of global warming threats, he named former Secretary of State John Kerry as a new special envoy on climate issues. And in a further message of U.S. re-engagement with the international community, Biden named career diplomat Linda Thomas-Greenfield for UN ambassador. Jake Sullivan, who advised Biden when he was vice president under Barack Obama, was named the national security advisor. The picks underline an emphasis on professionals whom Biden already knows well, in contrast to the Trump White House, where officials were often picked without having a traditional background for the job or proved incompatible and departed in acrimony. Many of Biden's cabinet picks will require confirmation in the Senate, where Republicans hold a narrow majority, although this would change if Democrats score an upset victory in 2 Georgia Senate runoff elections. In other news, U.S. Health Secretary Alex Azar says during a briefing on the COVID-19 vaccine distribution, quote, Rear Admiral Schwartz, who has been leading the transition planning effort, was last night in communication with the Biden transition team, end quote. Let's take a look.
Consistent with the GSA administrator's ascertainment yesterday, last night, Our top career official, Rear Admiral Schwartz, who has been leading our transition planning efforts, was last night in communication with the Biden transition team. We are immediately getting them all of the pre-prepared transition briefing materials. We will ensure coordinated briefings with them to ensure they're getting whatever information that they feel they need. I reiterated to Admiral Schwartz my firm commitment that transition planning and execution will be professional, cooperative, and collaborative in the best spirit of looking out for the health and well-being of the American people, and in particular, saving lives through this COVID-19 pandemic.
Incoming U.S. climate envoy John Kerry called Tuesday for a UN conference in Glasgow next year to raise ambitions, warning that the Paris Accord that he helped negotiate was insufficient. Introduced by President-elect Joe Biden, the former Secretary of State said, "Your right to rejoin Paris on day one, and your right to recognize that Paris alone is not enough."
A year from now, all nations must raise ambition together, or we will all fail together. And failure.
Now, when we come back, we'll have updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Washington, Alexandria, Virginia, and Houston, Texas. You're watching Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Hindi mo ba alam, mauubos daw ang mga tissue products? Bakit naman? Ang raw materials daw ng mask at tissue products ay iisa lang. Saan naman galing ang balitan yan? Ay basta, narinig ko lang din. Maraming diling kayang nagpo-post sa Facebook at Twitter, kaya kung ako sa'yo, kumuha ka na din. Sige na't mauna na ako sa'yo
Huwag basta-basta magpaniwala
sa mga nakikita
o nababasa sa social media.
Magsaliksik at i-verify ang lahat ng impormasyon
nakukuha sa internet.
Tandaan,
maging responsable tayo
sa paggamit ng social media
nang hindi magdulot ng panic sa iba.
Kung paanong dapat labanan ng COVID-19
ay gayon din ang ating pagsugpo
sa black propaganda
at maling impormasyon.
Dennis Lu,
Lou Omelda,
Luigian Alfartosa,
Tyranel Pililu,
Hannibal Arevalo,
EBC,
Japan, Euro. We live in interesting times.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo, coming to you from Atlanta. COVID-19 cases are spiking all over the country. State and city leaders are doubling up efforts to make sure their constituents understand the severity of the virus situation. In our nation's capital, modified restrictions have been ordered regarding Phase 2 operations in the district. In Washington, Eliza Gonzalez-Maglicmot files this report.
COVID-19 transmission is escalating in the District of Columbia, and now that we are entering the winter season, this also means flu season, holiday gatherings, and more indoor activities. Now, These all equate to possible causes of a spike in COVID-19 cases, warranting further restrictions on activities contributing to the further spread of the virus. Now, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser issued an order for modified requirements for Phase 2 operations. What are these? These include those for restaurants, houses of worship, fitness activities, mass gatherings, rules outdoor, establishment of rule for the size of private social gatherings during this public health emergency. Now, here are some of the requirements. Non-essential or non-retail businesses, continued telework is strongly encouraged for these establishments. Now, for restaurants, they may continue to operate until midnight, but alcohol sales, service, and consumption ends at 10 p.m. Live entertainment pilot is paused for the moment. Some previously approved performances will be grandfathered. Now, for mass gatherings, outdoors, from 50, it is now down to 25 persons. Indoor mass gatherings cannot exceed 10 persons. Indoor services in houses of worship, from 100, now it is down to 50 persons, with a maximum of 50% occupancy limit remaining in place. The lesser number of 50 persons or 50% occupancy is allowable. Virtual services over in-person services are highly encouraged. Now, for social gatherings, indoor social gatherings shall not exceed 10 persons unless the number of persons in a household exceeds 10. Now, for gyms, they all must suspend indoor group exercise classes and must suspend all outdoor group exercises of 25 or more persons. Now, the enforcement of this order, it says that any individual or entity knowingly violating this order may be subject to civil and administrative penalties authorized by law. Now, the effective date of this order begins tonight, November 25, at 12:01 a.m. through December 31st, 2020, or until further date to which the COVID-19 public health emergency is extended. In Washington, D.C., Eagle News, Eliza Gonzalez, Manglik Mott, we live in interesting times.
COVID-19 cases are hitting a record high in the state of Virginia, prompting the state government to set up new measures to help counter the impact of the pandemic. Joining us tonight is Eagle News correspondent EJ Gonzalez in Alexandria. EJ?
Thanks, Philip. According to the Virginia Department of Health, COVID-19 cases are at an all-time high for the state. The death toll has been steadily increasing and is nearing 4,000 total deaths. Virginia has been averaging more than 1,500 confirmed new cases per day, including a single day where it surpassed 2,000 cases. The pandemic today is at a worse state than it's ever been, so Governor Ralph Northam announced new measures and budget adjustments to help address these concerns. New measures were put into place for the state, which include a reduction in public and private gatherings, an expansion on mandatory face coverings, strengthened enforcement with essential businesses, and a new alcohol curfew. Here's Governor Ralph Northam with a more in-depth review of the changes. Let's take a look.
We will limit gatherings to no more than 25 individuals. Restaurant alcohol sales will end at 10 p.m. and restaurants will close by midnight. All essential businesses will follow the requirements on social distancing, cleaning, and wearing face coverings. This means grocery stores, home improvement stores, and others. Face coverings are one of the best tools we have to fight COVID-19. So everyone needs to wear them, age 5 and up, including in-school and childcare settings.
In addition to these changes, the governor announced new contracts with laboratories to increase the state's public health testing capacity. The goal with these contracts is to support high-priority outbreak investigations, conduct community testing events, and be able to perform 7,000 tests per day by the end of the year. Governor Northam also signed a new budget to allocate funding which Virginia received through the CARES Act. $22 million will be allocated to vaccination programs, $368 million for K through 12 public schools, higher education, and the state council, $65.8 million for child care services, and over $70 million each for small business assistance and home health workers. Millions more will be distributed for broadband accessibility, workforce training for unemployed Virginians, rent and mortgage relief, food banks, Medicaid day support providers, and free clinics. Governor Northam said, and I quote, "Everyone is tired of this pandemic and restrictions on our lives. I'm tired, and I know you are tired too," end quote. He also said that the new budget will be giving Virginia the tools to contend with the difficulties that this virus is bringing upon the state. And if everyone can come together to follow these mitigation measures, we can get this virus under control and save lives. In Alexandria, Virginia, EJ Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, EJ. Do you feel that these new changes are going to be enough?
Yeah, it's crazy because it's hard to believe that we're at a worse state than it was even at the beginning of the pandemic. But the measures back then were, I think, a little bit more strict than they are now. However, I do think it's a step in the right direction. And, after opening up a lot of these different facilities and such, it's great to hear also that different facilities and organizations are receiving aid, especially the vaccination programs and education systems. For the restrictions, there was definitely a need to revamp them because the spread is just on another level right now, and it's sad to see that positive cases are on the rise nationwide. And like our governor said, we're all tired of it. But the only way for these numbers to go down is if we do practice these mitigation measures.
And that's a good point, EJ, that, we've got people all over the country that, are just getting so tired of all these restrictions. Is there anything that you and your family do to help, keep yourself, I don't know if energized is the right word, but, keep yourself following these mitigation strategies?
Yeah, the best thing to do is not try to limit the amount of time you go out. We try to stock up on groceries when we do go out so that it'll last for a pretty long while. And to help us stay home, it gives us a lot of hours to binge watch. Right now we're watching Grey's Anatomy. So every day we've been watching that. So my wife and I were able to stay home, stay entertained, stay positive.
That's good. And just out of curiosity, when you're out in your grocery shopping, are there any particular canned seafood varieties that you that you happen to partake of?
Hey, sardines. We're going to get a little bit more into that later down the road.
That's right. So just stay tuned, everyone, when we talk about sardines. End of the episode. But in all seriousness, EJ, thank you so much for your report. You stay safe, and we'll catch up with you here at the end.
Thanks, Philip.
Now, tonight we have several stories from our Lone Star State Bureau. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announces comfort food packages for Texas residents. And in Houston, a computer access program has been launched, plus a virtual museum celebration of Native American Heritage Month. Not so lonesome after all. Jessica Isidro reports. Jessica?
Thank you, Philip, and howdy from the Lone Star State. On Tuesday, Governor Greg Abbott announced the Holiday Comfort Food Care Package, or CFCP, program in partnership with the Texas Restaurant Association to provide holiday meals for at-risk youth and families in Texas, while supporting local restaurants. The way it works is customers can access their favorite restaurants online and purchase a holiday meal for a family in need. Each holiday meal package can feed a family of 5 to 6 and is delivered to the recipient's home. The program benefits children, youth, and families served by the Texas Network of Family and Youth Success Programs, select Boys and Girls Clubs, select court-appointed special advocate programs, and agencies that give aid to child sex trafficking victims. Governor Abbott stated the Holiday Comfort Food Care Package program will provide holiday meals for our most vulnerable youth and families while giving Texans another way to support local restaurants and their fellow Texans experiencing hardships due to COVID-19. Thank you to the generous Texans across the state for stepping up during this holiday season to provide meals to families in need. Meanwhile, here in Space City, the Houston City Council recently approved an $800,000 program to provide computers to low-income Houstonians. Mayor Sylvester Turner's Health Equity Response, or HER, task force has partnered with the nonprofit group CompuDot, which provides technology, access, and education to underserved youth. Up to 1,900 free computers will be distributed to qualifying applicants on a first-come, first-served basis from now until December 30, 2020. Applicants must reside in Houston and prove their total household income prior to February 2020 was lower than 80% of the area median income. They must also belong to one of the following groups: persons over 65, persons with disabilities, households with children less than 5 years old, or youth ages 16 to 24 not currently enrolled in school or in the workforce. Colin Dempsey, CompuDot Executive Director of the Houston and Galveston areas, stated, "We are proud to partner with the City of Houston to provide digital access to our most vulnerable neighbors. These refurbished computers will be a lifeline for families who are still navigating a new world during the pandemic." November is Native American Heritage Month, and Houston will celebrate through the launching of the virtual Southern Plains Museum and Cultural Center, or SPMCC, which will be the very first virtual Native American museum and cultural center in Houston. The Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs awarded $10,000 to the City of Houston Initiative grant to the project. Mayor Sylvester Turner stated, "Houstonians can now celebrate Native American Heritage Month by learning about Indigenous histories through the Southern Plains Museum and Cultural Center. With the coronavirus pandemic still spreading in our community, this virtual experience will allow families to learn about the Indigenous peoples from the comfort and safety of their own home." Chance Landry, founder of the Southern Apache Museum, thanked Mayor Turner, stating he will go down in history as the mayor who finally recognized the Indigenous community in Houston. He mentioned that Mayor Turner will lead us out of the shadows into the scope of visibility in this great city of ours. The public can learn about Indigenous nations online through artwork, artifacts, and videos of public ceremonies in a virtual setting by visiting apachemuseum.org. Hope you're staying safe there in your part of the country. In Houston, Texas, I'm Jessica Isidro, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Jessica. Now, I'm just curious with talking about a virtual museum there at the end. Have you had a chance to experience it at all? I'm just curious what it might be like.
I have not had a chance to experience it yet, but with the upcoming holiday, my boyfriend and I are in much need of a date night, so it sounds like we're probably going to be doing that.
Absolutely. That's a little bit more unique than, your typical, binge watching, Grey's Anatomy or, something like that. But the other thing I wanted to touch on too was, you talked about comfort food packages, at the beginning of your report and, reaching out to others, during this, season where comfort food is, I think this time of year, everybody likes to revert to their particular comfort food. Is there a specific type of food that brings you comfort that you like to share with other people?
Well, if you've been to Houston, we're known for the Houston Rodeo. So we have a lot of fair food, and my comfort food is fried Oreos.
That's a good one. That's a good one. My arteries are clogging just thinking about it. But I was hoping that you were going to say something with a certain aquatic nature that can normally be found in cans. But I guess we'll talk about that here towards the end of the show. So that's right, everybody. Make sure you stay tuned for our Sardine Roundtable discussion here at the end. Thank you so much, Jessica. Now, when we come back, we'll have updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Delano and Sacramento, California, as well as New Union Township, New Jersey. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Turuan din natin ang mga bata ng tamang paghugas ng mga kamay. Basain ang kamay ng tubig at lagyan ng sabon. Kuskusin ang iyong mga palad. Gayon din ang pagitan ng mga daliri. Pati na ang likod ng mga palad at daliri. Ganon din ang iyong hinlalaki, kasama ang mga dulo ng iyong mga daliri. Pagkatapos ay iyong palapulsuhan. Gawin ito ng kahit 20 segundo. Pagkatapos ay banlawan ng tubig at patuyuin.
Hello, everyone. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo in Atlanta. It is the busiest week for U.S. travelers, and Los Angeles is not letting up on encouraging travelers going into the city to commit to the state-recommended 14-day quarantine. In Delano, Eagle News correspondent Julianne Fiesta has the details. Julianne?
Thank you, Philip. Travelers arriving Los Angeles airports are now required to complete forms acknowledging 14-day quarantine strongly recommended by California in an effort to raise awareness and safety for Angelenos traveling this Thanksgiving holiday. A travel advisory from the California Department of Public Health is currently in place of a recommended 14 days self-quarantine for all those arriving back or traveling to California from other countries or other states. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti states, quote, COVID-19 is more dangerous than ever. And from LAX to our businesses to our homes, we have to take action to protect Angelenos and stop the spread of this virus. Our new form delivers a clear message. If you travel to our city, we want you to be informed of guidelines that will save lives and keep all of us healthy and safe. Effective tomorrow, travelers arriving at Van Nuys Airport, Los Angeles International Airport, and those arriving at Union Station from another country or state will be required to complete the form prior or upon arrival. Travelers arriving at any of these locations will be informed of the new requirement through signages posted throughout the airports and airline terminals. Those who would like to complete this form in advance can do so online by visiting travel.lacity.org. Justin Erbacci, Chief Executive Officer of Los Angeles World Airport, says, quote, I applaud Mayor Garcetti for implementing this new requirement for those who do choose to travel into our airports. to ensure everyone has reviewed California's travel advisory and understands how to protect the health of themselves, their family, friends, and the greater community. This is the latest action taken by the city for Los Angeles airports in response to the surging cases of positive coronavirus cases. Just recently, Los Angeles International Airport initiated precautions to safeguard those traveling, including COVID-19 on-site testing at designated terminals. Prior to this, the city placed thermal cameras to screen for elevated body temperatures. In Delano, California, Julian Fiesta, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Julianne. And, you know, when people are traveling, especially in the airport, that they're trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. So I'm just curious, how long is it going to take to complete this form?
So, Philip, it's actually a very simple form to ensure that travelers are aware of the advisory from the state, and it takes less than 1 minute to complete.
Okay, now that's not too long, unless you have kids. For 1 minute can be an eternity if you've got a toddler. How do young children have to do this as well?
So, no, the young children do not need to complete this form, as this requirement is only for travelers 16 years of age and older.
Okay, I'm sure that is a relief to parents of young children everywhere. But you know, we've talked about it with some of the other correspondents as well. You know, when it comes to the different restrictions and risk mitigation efforts, some people follow along and some people don't. Are there going to be any consequences if someone fails to complete this form?
So if someone does fail to complete this form, they could be fined up to $500.
That doesn't sound like a light penalty. That $500 could buy you can get a lot of sardines for $500.
You definitely can buy a lot.
Absolutely. So just before we go, as you mentioned, this is, the busiest, one of the busiest, travel times of the year. And you're there in the area. Do you have a lot of family and friends that are going to be traveling this week?
I actually don't. Most of us, everyone I've actually asked, whether it be at work or just friends and family, we all agreed that it's safer to just stay home. So we all said that we were all just going to stay home, have a nice meal at home, and just stay safe, especially since all the cases are rising.
Absolutely. And keep washing your hands. That's important too.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much for your report, Julianne. We'll see you at the end of the show.
Thank you.
Would you like to know how to determine the risk of contracting the deadly coronavirus? Dr. Mark Galey of the California Health and Human Service Agency will explain it. In Sacramento, Bureau Chief Angel Membreri has the report.
Thank you. COVID cases, hospitalizations, and ICU hospitalizations are continuing to rise, so much that many of the hospitals are stretched out and pressed for space and supplies. Due to the increasing numbers, Dr. Mark Galey reminds us to look at our risk of contracting COVID-19 as a calculation. Let's listen.
You got to think about it sort of as a simple math problem. Your potential likelihood of getting exposed. So today we know there's just more COVID milling around our communities. It's more prevalent, as we say. You are more likely to get infected with COVID just because it's more available and more around our communities, even if you behave exactly like you did a month ago. It's just more prevalent in our community. That duration of exposure, so we often talk to you about having short exposures or short periods of mixing, that those two things come together and cause you to have increased risk when you have long duration exposures and you're doing things in our communities where we're likely to mix more than usual. So what are some of the protective factors? How do we reduce that overall risk? It's wearing your mask, keeping your face covered as much as you can, especially when you're with people who you're not used to mixing with. That isn't just people that you don't know, strangers in the grocery store or on the bus, but even with people that you're familiar with, you're close to, friends and family from afar, it's very important to keep your mask on. And then this is why we emphasize keeping at least 6 feet of distance, because that distance can reduce the likelihood of getting infected even when you're together for a period of time. So just wanted to use this as another reminder that there are different elements here that we can control. We can reduce our risk. And a reminder that some of the activities that you did a month ago and you said, hey, what's the big deal? I just keep doing them this way. The truth is that even those activities which felt low risk, felt safer a month ago, today are higher risk than many of us realize.
Lastly, Dr. Mark Galley recommends some ways to minimize the surge of COVID-19 during the Thanksgiving holiday. Let's listen.
So some Thanksgiving do's, these are really repetition for many of the messages we've already made. Celebrate with members of your own household. Respectfully say no to anything that makes you uncomfortable, that causes you to gather, even if in fun and exciting ways, in ways that you know might contribute to transmission within that gathering. Take advantage of some creative ways to experience remotely. I know we're working to set up a Zoom at my house so that my mom can pop in and out as she wishes. The kids can yell through the computer to have her come and see something they're working on, or enjoy dessert and dinner together as well. Make sure to drop off Thanksgiving meals for older loved ones or those with underlying conditions so that they can stay home. I think it's important that we look out for this. Let's not forget that part of the joy is not just sharing the meal, but having the meal and making sure that our loved ones and those we know might be alone have a meal that they can enjoy. And then it's important just to make sure that these precautions remind yourselves, remind others around you that these are the things we have to do to protect our family and friends because we love them.
In Sacramento, California, Angel and Brary, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Governor Phil Murphy of New Jersey signs a legislation requiring all uniformed patrol officers of the state to wear body cameras. In Union Township, Bureau Chief Carlo Valdez has the report.
Thanks, Phil. On Tuesday, Governor Phil Murphy signed into law to require New Jersey law enforcement to wear body cameras. This is a way of further promoting transparency in policing and to build trust between police officers and the communities they serve. Under this bill, law enforcement would need to have their cameras on when responding to a call for service or when beginning an investigative encounter. To protect the privacy of civilians, the law limits the use of the body cameras while law enforcement are on school property, in medical facilities, and in houses of worship. Governor Murphy said, "We've made it clear that New Jersey will be second to none in enacting vital reforms to promote transparency and boost public confidence in law enforcement. Body-worn cameras are a wise all-around investment in public safety that not only redouble our commitment to transparency and accountability, but also ensure that members of law enforcement are equipped with an important tool to help them carry out their sworn duties. Today represents another step down what we know is a long road to full understanding and lasting trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve." And as for coronavirus stats and numbers, New Jersey reports of 4,383 new positive COVID-19 cases, pushing the total to 313,863. Sadly, New Jersey is reporting 48 new COVID-19 deaths, pushing the total to 15,007 lives lost. In Union Township, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Phil.
When we come back, we'll have business news with Bobby Soriano and our highly anticipated virtual roundtable discussion in observance of National Sardine Day. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Hi everyone! Net25 Kids is inviting you to EBC Webinars 2020. A series of educational and informative webinars for teachers and parents which will be live-streamed via Net25 Kids' YouTube page. We will be featuring several guest speakers with years of experience to share information that would be valuable and helpful for teachers and parents as they educate and manage their children in these interesting times. Hope you will join us! For updates, schedules, and more information, please follow the Net25 Kids Facebook page.
Ida came back from her trip in Wuhan, China. She is a positive carrier of the coronavirus.
Hi, I'm Lorna.
Lorna is Ida's cousin. She can be a family member, a friend, a relative, a colleague, or anything related to Ida.
Hi, I'm Faye.
Faye is not related to Ida. They don't know each other. She can be a stranger Ida meets on the train, in the supermarket, movie house, or in any public place. Now, Ida is in the hospital and is being treated, and Lorna is placed in quarantine. Ida doesn't know Faye. Lorna doesn't know Faye. And Faye doesn't even know anything.
Hi, I'm Innocencio.
Innocencio has no contact with any virus carrier. But if he goes out, it takes at least 14 days for the symptoms to show on Faye. This is the purpose of a community quarantine or lockdown, to give time for the healthcare professionals to find Faye and all those she had close contact with, and to keep Innocencio from contracting the virus. Let's stop the spread of the COVID-19. We salute all our frontliners and healthcare workers. We are with you in this fight against COVID-19. I am Tyronel Pililu from EBC Japan Bureau, because we live in interesting times.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Silent volume 450. FI on to 100%. Standing by. Suctioning.
Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Tonight, we have several stories from our business desk in New York City with Bobby Soriano.
Good evening. U.S. markets have closed. Here are your latest business headlines. A familiar face to many on Wall Street will be heading to the White House in January. President-elect Joe Biden has announced plans to nominate former Federal Reserve Chairwoman Janet Yellen as his Secretary of Treasury. Yellen is seen as a safe choice for the markets as she oversaw long economic expansion during the Obama years and maintains good ties with her successor, current Fed Chair Jerome Powell, whom she has praised for his performance in trying to right an economy that has been routed by the pandemic. Business leaders also prefer Ms. Yellen over Biden's other prospective pick for Treasury Secretary, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who has campaigned in the past for progressive ideas that would have seen stronger regulation of the financial industry. If her appointment is confirmed in January, Ms. Yellen will not only hold the title of First Woman as Federal Reserve Chair, but she will also hold the title of First Woman to fill the role of Treasury Secretary. The travel sector appears to be on an extended rally this week on news from the Transportation Security Administration that over 3 million people passed through U.S. airports over the weekend. This marks the first time that the milestone has been hit since mid-March, when the coronavirus first became a national concern. While the news is being reacted to in a positive way by the market, with shares for airline and cruise ship companies rising, it is becoming a growing concern for health experts who are witnessing a clear case of pandemic fatigue by American citizens. Lastly, electric car company Tesla has been seeing strong gains in its share price lately, moving on the momentum that a Biden administration will have on the electric vehicle sector, and a possible surge in profit from growing sales in foreign markets such as China. The increase in value for Tesla has now moved CEO and founder Elon Musk to become the world's second richest person in the world, behind only Jeff Bezos of Amazon. Mr. Musk, whose net worth is now approximately $128 billion, takes the spot from Microsoft founder Bill Gates, who has a modest net worth of $119 billion. U.S. indices were up sharply today, with the Dow breaking 30,000 for the first time in history, on news that President Trump has okayed his aides to cooperate with the transition process for the upcoming Biden administration. Reporting from New York, Bobby Soriano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Now today is National Sardines Day. And while most families in America are preparing for their turkey dinner feast, let's discover why sardines are a good addition to our list of must-have food in our kitchens. According to Healthline.com, sardines are a good source of omega-3 fatty acids, which help prevent heart disease, vitamins B12 and D. They're a good source of calcium, which is good for those who might be lactose intolerant, allergic to dairy, or otherwise calcium deficient. Other minerals like niacin, iron, potassium, magnesium, zinc, and phosphorus. And finally, of course, it's fish, protein, to help build healthy bones and muscles. So let's ask our team how they enjoyed their silver little fish, whether they're cooked fresh or straight from the jar, or maybe even a can. Let's start with Julianne, just a quick question for you. Why did the carp not trust the sardine?
Why?
Because he was a little fishy. You get it?
Good one. That was a good one. Great way to start it off.
So tell us how you like your sardines, Julianne.
So besides I want to say the usual way of eating it with Filipinos, with rice and like grilled, I've actually had sardines in pasta. I usually don't like my pasta too heavy with like the cream and things like that. So for a lighter pasta choice, you could do it with olive oil. You put in sardines in there, put in some garlic and lemon, and it's really light. It's actually it's not too heavy on the fishy despite the smell of the sardines, because I think the garlic and the lemon really helps to balance that out.
You know, and I think there's probably a lot of people who are out watching at home right now, and they were kind of like sardines, but you made that sound pretty good. What about, Jessica, what about you? What's your favorite way to eat sardines?
Well, Julian kind of touched on it, the traditional Filipino way with rice and eggs. Usually I'll eat the sardines out of a can that are in tomato sauce with chili. Or I just recently discovered actually olive oil, like in a can with olive oil, and I'll eat that with rice and scrambled eggs for breakfast.
Hey, sounds good to me. But EJ, what about you? Do you have a different way that you eat your sardines?
Man, I don't think there's a different way. I mean, I need to discover some new ways, you know? Maybe you guys got some suggestions. But, you know, yeah, I like it either way. But, yeah, I don't grill it or anything like that. It's straight from the can or from the jar. I grew up with sardines with the tomato sauce. But, you know, when as I got older and my mom introduced me to the olive oil one, I was like blown away. I said, yo, never feed me the tomatoes again. I like the one with the olive oil a lot better with the rice. And you get a little bit of the sabao or the soup and you pour it over the rice. That's the way to go.
There you go. By soup, is that just olive oil?
I think so. I think so. I'm actually for new ways to try and eat it. I love tacos. I love fish tacos, shrimp tacos, steak. But I've never tried sardine tacos before. I'd probably be the first one to try that because anything's good in a taco.
And I think you've got the making of a good fusion recipe right there, a fusion restaurant idea.
Right.
Now, how about, a lot of us here on the team tonight, we grew up in America, and it sounds like, those with Filipino heritage, they learned it from their parents. Eliza, what about you? What does eating sardines mean to you, especially in your childhood?
Well, thank you. Well, sardines to me, Philip, it always reminded me of my childhood because once my mother served sardines, that means it meant grocery money is running out. I don't know, but that's how it was for our family. So once she brings out a can and the can opener, we all know that, it's time to eat sardines for how many days until the next payday comes and we get to eat more meaty dishes. But we've always had it with white or fried rice, steamed white rice or fried rice. But I also remember having sardines with pandesal. That's the Philippine dinner roll. That's what they call it, pandesal. But now that I have kids, I've also taught them how to eat it, and they love it the same way that I did with steamed rice and fish sauce. Sardines with fish sauce.
Oh, yeah, I guess it goes together, right? Fish sauce with fish.
Yeah. Meet your mom. I'm just kidding.
Right. But it's funny you say that. So, growing up, my dad is Filipino, and I think he ate sardines, but that was never, something that I partook of. It was always just that was his food. And then, I had my, frozen macaroni and cheese that I would heat up in the microwave. But, when I was older, it's funny because you mentioned, that's what came out when, the grocery money was low. I remember being, at the grocery store and I was looking for, and I was on a health kick and I was looking for like canned tuna or canned salmon. And I was like, why is this stuff just seems so expensive? And then I saw some sardines sitting there and I was like, oh, that's a little bit more cost effective. I've never had that. It says omega-3 on the label. Maybe I should try it out. And that's, and oddly enough, even though I never ate it the way you guys described, with rice with my dad, that's kind of where I just naturally started to eat it like that. And I guess that, I don't know, maybe it's in your blood, but, are there any of you have any unique, maybe Jessica, do you have any unique recipes that, you might be wanting to try with sardines?
Well, to counterbalance the amount of fried Oreos I eat, I feel like I need to eat more sardines now since it's good for your heart. I was thinking, since I only recently just have been eating them with scrambled eggs, I was thinking I'm really obsessed with Eggs Benedict. So maybe with poached eggs and toast. I have no idea, but I also did see, because I love sushi, I did see something about a sardine sushi roll. And I mean, it makes sense because I eat raw salmon. Why not sardines?
No, that's a good idea. And I can already imagine the boomerang on Instagram where you cut into the poached egg and then the yolk runs all over the sardines. Julian, what about you? Is there a way, an inventive way that maybe you've never had sardines that maybe, you're going to try after this conversation tonight?
So I know that people put anchovies on pizza, and fish on pizza sounds weird, but you know what? If you can put anchovies, why not sardines? If people can eat pineapples, why not sardines? So I think I might try that one next.
That's a good idea. And EJ, just a different question here. For our viewers at home, particularly, here in America where maybe, sardines isn't really a staple of, our diets or our pantries, if you will. What would you say to someone who's never tried sardines? How could you describe, what that, delicacy tastes like?
Right. Well, actually, you informed me with all the health benefits earlier before we even started talking about it. I think that would probably get a lot of people interested because especially nowadays, so many people are so health conscious, especially with the pandemic. I think I would lead in with that. I think you sold me on it. So, I actually haven't had sardines in a really long time, but after all the benefits, you said that, and I think I need to go to my grocery store and try it out. Yeah, like I said, I would try it on a taco, and I was thinking some more. I actually like salmon burgers. That's good too. Would it be weird to put sardines in a burger? I think that's super American, so I think that's probably a good way to introduce them to.
That's a good idea. I mean, if you're going to put fish sauce on sardines, you might as well put, fish on more fish and put some cheese on a bun. So that sounds good. Eliza, what about you? Are there any creative ways that you've just thought of that you might want to try here and we might see on a Digital Nest feature soon?
Well, I think if others are hesitant, those who haven't tried sardines and are hesitant to try it because they might think it's because of the fishy taste, I think the best way to also balance it out, aside from lemon, is fresh basil. So if you eat sardines in olive oil with fresh basil, it also takes out the fishiness in it. So maybe try it with a basmati rice or different kinds of grains or something, or I don't know, quinoa, maybe over quinoa. It makes sense, right? Or cauliflower rice, maybe.
Those are all good ideas, and just like EJ said, a lot of us are, trying to be more health conscious, and pairing sardines with some of those other lower carb or more nutrient dense side dishes. Those definitely would. Might be a good way for people to try. So for everyone out there that is obviously enthralled by our conversation tonight about sardines, definitely go out and give it a try, because we talked about the different health benefits, and now you have probably 50 different ways to try it. So I do want to take the time to thank our Eagle News team for all of your input during our virtual roundtable discussion tonight. I know some of the suggestions that I made might have been a little fishy, but we appreciate all of your efforts. And before we go tonight, we do this every time, and especially now when we're getting into the holiday season. And here in America, there's this Thanksgiving holiday that many people are getting ready to celebrate time with friends and family. We really want to again express our sincere appreciation to all of our healthcare workers, the first responders, the essential workers, all of those people across the country and across the world who are helping all of us get through this pandemic day by day. So we want to thank you again with a tremendous round of applause and let you know that we truly appreciate you. Now, that is it for today's episode of Eagle News America. We want to thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, stay well. I am Philip Toledo. We live in interesting times.